There comes a time in your life when God begins to shift things. You may not see it at first. You may just feel a stirring in your spirit, a restlessness in your soul, or an ache in your heart that tells you something greater is coming. And today I want to tell you, God is preparing you for a great marriage with the right person. But before the promise comes, there are signs, there are changes, and there are signals heaven will send. And as soon as you begin to notice them, you'll realize the wait was never a waste. It was a season of preparation. Some of you have been praying, fasting, waiting, hoping. You've cried yourself to sleep, wondering if anyone will ever truly understand your heart. You've seen people get married around you. You felt like time was passing you by. But let me tell you this, God is not late. He is preparing you and protecting you at the same time. You see, before God brings the right person, He first does a work in you. He separates you before He connects you. That's why you're seeing friendships break off. That's why old relationships that weren't meant for your destiny had to fall away. It's not rejection, it's redirection. He's clearing the path for someone who will not just love you, but lead you, walk with you, and pray with you. When God begins to prepare you for something as sacred and purposeful as marriage, He doesn't start with the other person. He starts with you. Many people are waiting for someone to complete them, to rescue them from loneliness, or to bring them joy. But in the eyes of heaven, marriage is not a fix for emptiness. It is a divine partnership. And before the right one comes along, God will take time to shape your heart, mold your character, and align your desires with His. Preparation often feels hidden. It looks like seasons of silence, moments of pruning, and times when nothing seems to be happening on the outside. But behind the scenes, God is refining you like gold, removing what doesn't belong and instilling within you the fruit of the Spirit, patience, kindness, faithfulness, and self-control. He is not simply preparing you for marriage. He is preparing you to be the kind of person who can sustain a godly marriage. This process is often misunderstood because we live in a world that celebrates instant results and overnight connections. But the things of God take time. Just as a builder lays a strong foundation before raising up the walls of a house, God lays the foundation of trust, surrender, and spiritual maturity before bringing someone into your life. If you rush the process, you risk building a relationship on unstable ground. You may enter a relationship with hidden wounds, unhealed trauma, or misplaced expectations. But when you allow God to prepare you first, He begins to remove the idols in your heart, the insecurities that could damage a future union, and the selfishness that could destroy a covenant. God's preparation often includes seasons of isolation, not to punish you, but to position you. He separates you from distractions, from people who don't understand your calling, from environments that are toxic to your growth. In that hidden place, He draws you closer to Him. He teaches you to find joy in His presence, to rely on His word, and to trust His timing. You learn to walk in faith, not by sight. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop trying to control every detail of your love story. You start to understand that God is the author of your future, and He writes far better than you ever could. In this sacred preparation, God doesn't just change your behavior, He transforms your perspective. You begin to see marriage not as a destination, but as a mission. You understand that you are not just waiting for someone to make you happy. You are becoming someone who can bring joy, healing, and strength into another person's life. Your identity becomes rooted not in your relationship status, but in your relationship with the Father. And when your identity is secure, you won't be swayed by counterfeit connections. You'll recognize what is from God because it will align with His peace, His word, and His purpose. As God prepares you, He may also bring clarity to your calling. You'll feel drawn towards certain assignments, dreams, and visions. He'll awaken passions within you that align with your future spouse's calling. The right person will not distract you from your purpose. They will confirm it. And until that person arrives, God is teaching you to walk in your assignment with confidence. You are not in a holding pattern, you are in a building season. Every lesson, every test, every tear is preparing you to love, lead, and serve in ways you never thought possible. There will be moments when you wonder if you've been forgotten, moments when the enemy whispers that time is running out or that you've missed your chance. But the truth is, God is not just preparing a person for you, He is preparing you for them. When the time is right, He will not delay. And when the two of you meet, you will not just be ready for each other, you will be ready for the calling God has placed over your union. And everything you walked through before will make sense, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary to prepare your heart for the promise that's coming. As you walk with God and surrender your desire for marriage into His hands, something powerful begins to happen within you. Your standards begin to rise, not out of pride or perfectionism, but out of spiritual growth. When you spend time in God's presence, your spirit starts to crave things that align with His heart. The more you are filled with His Word, the more you begin to see yourself through His eyes. You no longer entertain relationships that are shallow, one-sided, or surface level. You begin to understand your worth, not in a boastful way, but in a way that reflects how much God values you. And that shift, that deep realization of your identity in Him, causes you to expect more because you were created for more. There was a time when attention was enough. A text message or a compliment could make you feel desired. But as God matures you, those small distractions lose their appeal. You stop chasing people who only show up when it's convenient. You stop making excuses for behavior that doesn't reflect love, integrity, or respect. You no longer allow loneliness to be the reason you settle. Instead, you allow the Spirit of God to lead your heart. You know now that you don't just want a partner. You want someone who prays with you, believes with you, and walks in purpose beside you. That's what spiritual maturity looks like. It's not about having a checklist of impossible demands. It's about knowing what is rooted in God's truth and refusing to accept anything that contradicts it. The rising of your standards is also a sign that your faith is becoming active. You begin to believe that if God made you with care, He can bring someone into your life with just as much intentionality. You no longer operate from a place of fear. You don't feel desperate to force something that doesn't fit. Instead, you become patient, not because waiting is easy, but because trusting God gives you peace. You'd rather wait in faith than settle in fear. You'd rather be single in the will of God than married and outside of it. That's growth. That's wisdom. That's the kind of thinking God blesses. When your standards rise, your heart becomes guarded in the best way, not closed off or bitter, but discerning. You begin to recognize what's real and what's temporary. You start to test spirits, not just chemistry. You seek someone's character, not just their charm. You notice how they treat others, how they handle pressure, how they speak when no one's listening. You care about whether they love Jesus more than they love impressing people. These aren't shallow concerns. They're signs that your heart has matured. You are no longer content with someone who fits your preferences. You want someone who aligns with your purpose. This shift in standards doesn't just apply to who you choose, it also shapes who you're becoming. You begin to ask yourself the same hard questions. Am I living with integrity? Am I ready to love someone with patience and grace? Am I becoming the kind of person I'm praying for? And in that reflection, God does a deeper work. He starts refining you, softening you, strengthening you, because the person you are becoming will naturally attract the one God has for you. You don't have to perform. You don't have to chase. You just have to grow, stay rooted in truth, and allow God to raise the standard within you. Sometimes people around you won't understand this new mindset. They'll tell you you're being too picky or unrealistic. They'll urge you to settle down just to avoid being alone. But when God has given you clarity, don't let culture convince you to lower your standard. God's best doesn't come through compromise, it comes through obedience. And the same God who raised your standards is the same God who will meet them in His perfect time. He knows how to bring someone into your life who reflects His love, not just in words, but in action. Someone who won't shrink your faith, but stretch it. Someone who won't just walk with you, but worship with you. And that's the beauty of spiritual growth. The more you grow in Him, the less you'll settle for anything that doesn't look like Him. When God sends the right person into your life, it won't be marked by confusion, chaos, or emotional games. It will be marked by peace, not the kind of peace the world gives, which depends on circumstances, but the kind of peace that comes from the Spirit of God, a deep inner assurance that settles your soul, even if everything around you is uncertain. One of the greatest signs that you're stepping into a God-ordained relationship is this unmistakable calm. There will be no need to force anything, no need to manipulate, no need to constantly question where you stand. The peace of God becomes the confirmation that you are walking in His will. Too often people mistake passion for purpose and chemistry for compatibility. They stay in relationships where their heart is constantly anxious, where their mind is racing with questions, where their value feels compromised. But when God brings someone into your life by His design, He does not stir up fear. He establishes peace. Peace is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of spiritual alignment. You will find yourself able to be vulnerable without fear, to share your heart without being judged, and to grow closer to someone without losing your identity. There is a flow, a natural rhythm that cannot be manufactured. That's because when something is from God, it doesn't drain you, it nourishes you. This peace also comes from shared vision and values. When the right person enters your life, you will find yourselves aligned in what matters most: faith, purpose, values, and goals. You won't feel the need to compromise your convictions to keep their attention. You won't be afraid to speak truth or to stand firm in your walk with God. They will honor your boundaries, respect your calling, and push you closer to Christ. When God writes the story, the connection doesn't feel like a tug of war. It feels like a partnership under His covering. Another way peace confirms the right relationship is through spiritual agreement. You will both desire the presence of God. You will both value prayer. You will both hunger for righteousness. Even if your personalities differ, your spirits will agree. God will not send someone who pulls you away from Him. He will send someone who points you back to Him. And in that agreement, peace will reign, not because everything is perfect, but because you both know who holds the future. Peace doesn't mean the absence of challenges. Even a relationship ordained by God will face opposition, especially from the enemy who fears the power of two people united in Christ. But the difference is this: even in the battles, there will be peace in your hearts. There will be clarity. There will be the presence of God confirming what He has already spoken. You won't be double-minded or constantly second-guessing the relationship. There will be a steady calm that anchors you even when storms try to shake you. Sometimes people confuse anxiety with excitement. They feel butterflies and adrenaline and think it's a sign of love. But God doesn't lead with emotional highs. He leads with spiritual peace. If your heart is always unsettled, always questioning, always uneasy, that is not the peace of God. That is a red flag. God's peace may not be loud, but it is consistent. It stays even when feelings fluctuate. It comforts you when doubts try to rise. It guards your heart and mind, just as Scripture promises. You'll also notice that peace comes with mutual effort. The right person won't leave you guessing. They will be intentional, clear, and consistent. They won't disappear when things get serious. They won't play with your emotions. They will pursue you with honor and humility, and that clarity will bring you peace. Because when something is truly from God, it won't just make sense in your heart, it will make sense in your spirit. It will line up with His Word, His timing, and His character. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt unsettled but stayed because you were afraid to start over, know this: God never calls you to stay in confusion. He is not the author of chaos. He is the God of peace. And when the right person enters your life under His direction, that peace will go before you, walk beside you, and follow you. It will confirm what your heart already knows deep down, not through pressure or persuasion, but through the gentle, unwavering presence of the one who brings two people together for His glory. When you're nearing the fulfillment of God's promise, when you're about to step into a relationship